Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am LadySmitan, formerly known as TheSimsSmith, and this is the third part of the Rokin Townhouse speed build. I lost the footage of the initial kitchen build, but you do get to see the kitchen quite a bit because I haven't actually finished decorating in there. And I should mention that everything looks a little bit more old-fashioned and traditional in this townhouse because that was the sort of vibe I was going for. I was thinking of an elderly couple living here, and they'd lived here for years, and they were originally here, and then the other two townhouses people have like moved in and moved out, and they've slowly gotten more modernized, whilst this couple have always stayed with their traditional ideas, probably not decorated in many years. But it was actually quite fun doing this sort of build because obviously I'm quite young and I'm not in like personal taste isn't traditional and old-fashioned, so it's quite interesting to do something that I'm not used to, and I actually had a lot more fun doing this build than the other two, which was surprising considering my personal taste is obviously a bit more modern. But I suppose it was the challenge that interested me, which, I like a challenge, like something new, especially since I'm just learning to build and I'm always trying to push myself and improve. I was trying to make it really cluttered in here because I felt like an older couple will have been around for many years, done many things, collected lots of objects, and probably not got rid of many of them. I know lots of older people who are slightly hoarderish, I suppose is how you'd put it. And similar with these pictures, I thought maybe they'd have travelled a lot and they'd have collected lots of memories. So I put that up there, and I made this a brown and green and gold theme because I felt that was quite palatial and fancy, which I thought this old couple might be. And it sort of goes throughout the rest of the house. There's lots of browns and lots of golds. Um, just trying to figure out a little bit at the front because they needed to be a bit more traditional, like the original build. So I thought I'd put in these little balconies, and I was putting in flowers as I found them. I didn't own some of the stuff packs when I did the other two builds, but during making all of these videos, my boyfriend bought me the Dine Out game bundle, which came with romantic garden stuff and movie hangout stuff, both amazing packs. So I was able to use a few items from those, and I was really excited. But again, I was trying to keep this more traditional, and movie hangout stuff is quite boho chic and a bit more modern, and romantic gardens is gardens, and Dine Out was very modern as well, I found. So it was a bit like I had to restrain myself from using those items because they wouldn't have fitted with this build. But there are a few here and there that you'll notice if you've got the packs. It was interesting doing the bathrooms as well because everything was a bit more traditional. So I used the older fashioned looking toilets and sinks and all the old fashioned wallpapers and tiles. On this floor, I decided they were going to have sort of a fancy living room which doesn't have a television in because I imagined the woman of the couple, the wife, her to be a bit more sort of wanting to have tea with her friends in the afternoon and have conversations and things and not want to be distracted by television, so she gets her fancy living room, and then he gets sort of a pub style study room for himself where he's got his television and a darts board and a bar for him and his friends to enjoy. Because I thought old couples often do have their own sort of spaces because they've lived together for so long. They'd like sort of, once the kids moved out, they acquire the other rooms and change them to their needs. And then on the other floors, there is a master bathroom with a master bedroom and a grandchildren's bedroom because I thought it'd be quite nice if they had the grandkids come visit, they could stay over. And an artist studio because I thought maybe she'd sort of express her more modern flair every now and again and have her own space to do that. And also a old-fashioned library stroke study because it looked cool. Basically, I quite liked the old bookcases all being different and mismatched, so I did that. On this build, as you can see, I spent a lot more time on the rooms and on the bathrooms and trying to figure out the small details, and it's because I'm not used to building this way, and it was quite challenging, but it was also very fun looking through all the different wallpapers I don't normally use and the floors and all the small decor items that I could like put in and be like, ooh, I haven't used that mirror before, and sort of just make it cluttered and homey but old was sort of what I was trying to do. Here is the fancy living room that I'm starting on now, which is very calm coloured, lots of light blues and light wood, because I thought she'd have like quite a feminine, fresh, still old-fashioned, but a bit more brighter. And he probably wouldn't spend much time in here because it'd be her and her friends having their afternoon tea and gossiping. Not to be stereotypical about old people, but it was just sort of the idea I had whilst I was building it. And I was sort of struggling with different floorings, trying to figure out which one looked best, and then I struggle a bit with the wallpapers, and the one that I leave now I don't actually keep. I do change it later when I put some pictures in, and I felt it didn't fit well between sort of the picture rail and the coving, is it called, at the top? Here I was trying to put the bookcases in, and that's when I decided, nope, I'm going to build a library, and I put it in here, and then I move it upstairs because like the library should be upstairs by the art room, whilst his study, his personal study with bar and stuff in there, should be next to the lounge room. I really like this table from Movie Hangout stuff. I thought it was really cute, and I did actually think it would have fitted into an older home because it does sort of look like an older piece of furniture with the drop leaf sides. But I didn't get it to work because I couldn't find chairs that went with it, and then the chairs that went with it needed to have darker wood, and then it didn't go with the couches, so I ended up changing it and changing the chairs as well, actually, one of them in a second, to get it a bit more brighter, sort of flow with the rest of the room. Again, that chair is also from the Movie Hangout stuff, and I really liked it, but it's got lots of crazy patterns which didn't quite fit with an old couple's home, and that was the one that was the least like vibrant, and then that one also didn't work because it had the darker wood. So there you can see I've changed them, and I'm just putting in a rug, I'm putting in the different pictures. I've used a lot of the older pictures because again I felt that really worked. They were sort of more old-fashioned, the older frames, and even the older images on the inside, and it looked quite good. And this is when I put so many together in a small arrangement that I decided I need to change the wallpaper because it overhangs, as you can see, and that's not very realistic. Which I know The Sims doesn't have to be realistic, but I do quite enjoy a bit of realism in my builds. I still wanted a bookcase in here, so I do end up putting the small white one in, and it fits quite nicely. And I really like that seat from Spa Day stuff, but I always end up using it more of as a footstool. Just faffing around, moving everything around. I do this a lot. There we go. This is the bar, and this one I also rearranged like a million times because I just can't seem to get the arrangement how I want it. And I'm okay, like I feel the last one's okay at the very end, but it was probably a bit more of a squeeze than I'd expected, and obviously there's that strange bit behind the stairs and I didn't really know what to do with that, which is sort of where the dartboard ends up because it's quite a skinny alleyway and it quite worked. And I moved this chest table upstairs into the study because I felt it's a bit more of a skill building object than an entertainment object like the dartboard and the bar and the TV. So that gets moved eventually, and also then creates more space for the dartboard and the bar, because the bar is what causes the most problem in this room. Here I am just faffing around with the study a little bit, trying to fit that on there. And as the bar just caused so many problems because I couldn't figure out how to orient it, and then eventually I was like, oh, I should add in a fridge because it makes more sense to have a fridge next to the bar with all the things in than to go all the way downstairs and then come all the way back upstairs, especially when you're an older sim and you don't want to be risking the stairs all the time in case you slip and break a hip, which I know can't happen in the game. But, and these chairs, I wanted to have two separate chairs, so that was sort of like an old man hangout thing where they have like their two separate armchairs and they talk to each other about like sports or the weather or fishing or whatever they're interested in, but didn't work, so I ended up going for this leather sofa, which looks quite nice, and I felt still looked quite like gentleman's study entertainment bar, like it fitted. I don't really know what to call this room if you can't tell. And this is where I'm just faffing around even more, trying to figure out what I wanted in there, because I was thinking, do I want to have loads of shelves with the bars in, or do I want to have the nectar rack from Dine Out stuff, but that didn't work, so this is the fridge I went for, because it looks sort of more like a mini fridge, or just like a cooler type fridge. And this, I think, is the final layout, but I do get rid of that coffee table, because, again, it didn't really work, and I was like, they don't really need the coffee table, because they can either sit at the bar to have their drinks, or they have the little side table to put it on. And here we are in the library, changing all of it to a bit of a darker wood because I feel that's a bit more fitting to an old library study feel. And I do keep rearranging them because I want to fit in an armchair, and I use an armchair which you have to unlock in, I think, the author career is when you're meant to unlock it. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But I really liked that one. I think it sort of suited the room most out of all of them, so I cheated to get that chair and unlocked the career entitlements. And again, this was more of a brown and green theme because I thought it looked quite good. And now we're working on her artist room. I used one of the pre-created rooms just to find the items easier because I didn't want to trawl through decor for ages and have like a ton of video just watching me struggle to find the things I needed. And I didn't actually even know that the chair with the light was one of the items. I thought that was pretty cool, so I added that in. And I'd take a while to figure out the arrangement of this room as well, of how I wanted to have it, and then I thought obviously she needs to have the easel with the light behind her from the windows. And I put in this rug because it's amazing and comes in loads of different cool patterns. I thought it would sort of go with she's having a bit of a creative flair and she's not being as traditional, sort of experimenting a bit more. I really liked that old gramophone, which is in the electronic section under like audio with all the stereos and things. So I wanted to put that in, but it was causing a bit of a nightmare because I had to use 9 and move objects on, which can cause problems, and floating objects. So if it is floating, I apologise, and just feel free to delete it or try fix it. Just doing one of the other bathrooms. I know it's a bit strange to have a bath and shower on the floor with the like artist room and library, but I wanted them to have more bathrooms, so they had like a bathroom pretty much on every floor, which just makes it easier for Sims, and also if there's more than like 2 Sims there, they can all get ready at the same time. This is the guest bathroom for the children when they come and stay, and it's a lot more modern. Well, it's not a lot more modern, it's a bit more modern than the rest of the bathrooms in the house. It's got a modern shower in it because I thought they'd have sort of added in the shower because the kids probably aren't going to want to take baths and things depending on their age, like as they grow up and become teenagers. So I gave them a really modern shower because I thought they'd have gotten that recently. And then the wallpaper and flooring is a bit more modern, the tiles. It's not like super modern because they're still an older couple. This is their master bedroom, and I changed the bed covers to the navy blue instead, and the lights to the navy blue as well because it ends up fitting a bit more with the colour scheme I sort of end up with. I keep it quite warm still with, I think it's sort of like a creamy beigey coloured, yeah, this coloured wallpaper, but I thought it was quite nice and still it wasn't like over the top pattern, which would probably keep you awake rather than help you get to sleep. And I wanted to keep the lighting a bit warmer, a bit dulled, so they have their own separate little bedside lights that they can switch on depending on who's going to sleep first or who's reading or whatever. And his sort of stuff on that little dresser, and then she gets her own table here, which is sort of like a vanity, I suppose, to do her makeup and her mirror and all that, so she can get dressed. Because, you know, even when you get old, you still gotta look after yourself and make yourself feel good. And if that means makeup and clothes, then, you know, go for it, I say. Here I'm just jumping back and forth between rooms as I find small decor items that I feel suit better. I put in some pictures. I put in a slightly modern one, which came with either movie hangout stuff or I think maybe like dino. I don't know, honestly, which is really bad. I should have checked before I said any of this. Over the bed because I thought maybe she'd have a bit of her modern flair sneaking into the bedroom as well. And this is the children's bedroom, which is again green and brown because it seems to be quite a good little theme. It's quite a calm colour, it's not too over the top, and it's quite neutral, so it isn't geared towards more to be very girly or very like a boys' room in the stereotypical terms of pink and blue. But I didn't have kids' room stuff, and I still don't have kids' room stuff, and I'm pretty gutted about that. But I hopefully will have that in the future. So I couldn't use all the cool items in there, and it was released when I was doing this build, and I was really annoyed because I really wanted to use it, but I couldn't. So it's quite a generic kids' bedroom with all the old furniture. blah, but whatever. In the future, I will do so many cute kids' rooms when I have the right pack, but that won't be for a while because I do not have money. I was just putting in lots of different pictures, and I decided that map picture looked better in the study because it seemed quite, I don't know, sort of the kind of thing with the old-fashioned stuff and the globes and things that you'd have in your study. And I quite like the jazz pictures. I thought maybe the whole artistic flair, bit of a modern twist sometimes sneaking out from the wifey. So I thought I'd keep that scheme going in some of the rooms. And now we're working on the garden. I built an outdoor shed because I really wanted to get the handiness workbench, because I thought that's sort of like a granddad thing to have, or at least I know it's the kind of thing my granddad would have had, or my dad will have when he is a granddad, which is a long way off. If you're listening, Dad, don't worry. So I did that. I gave him his own little shed outside because I didn't want it inside the house because I didn't think it looked right. And I put in a few tools into the shed. Like there's that wall of small boxes which have like little trowels in. There it is, little trowels and little pliers and stuff, and there's the gardening tools. And I thought she'd want to sort of fence off the shed and not have it as a feature. So I put in those little trellises, but still with the little holes you can see through, so that's quite cute. They came with romantic garden stuff. And then this side is the like sort of area where he might do a little bit of allotmenting from home, or she might do a little bit of growing of vegetables and stuff. So the gardening tools are all there hidden behind the shed, and then over here is a bit more of the seating area to have like a nice relaxing time in the garden and sit together and just enjoy nature. And there's the bench as well, and there's the nice flowers everywhere. And I put in a tree at some point as well because I thought that tree might have been there when they first moved in, and it's grown since then and it's a big tree now, and it's quite a cute little idea to have. Maybe, or maybe they planted it together, and yeah, how romantic. And that light came with Dine Out, that little candle, which I thought was super cute, so I put that there. And I wanted to make it look like the bench had been there a while and the flowers had sort of like grown over the bench. So adding in lights, working in the dark as I often do. And then after this, I add more greenery to the shed and to the house, I believe, and also some plants out the front of the house, if I'm correct. I might be wrong. Nope, I'm right. Here we go. And I also, at one point, I'm trying to put some plants in one of the balconies because I thought that looked quite cool, but it didn't work. And then I was thinking about it anyway, and I was like, there's no way to get onto those balconies to look after those plants, so that wouldn't look right anyway, really. It'd look nice, but it wouldn't be realistic. And I know it doesn't have to be realistic, but again, quite like a bit of realism. And then I thought I was finished. After I faffed with that and realised, nope, I'm not. There are no curtains in this house, and curtains are quite the thing in most houses, and I didn't put them in the other two because it didn't work. And I often don't put them in my houses because I just struggle with the curtains in The Sims. They're not always the best, they don't always fit. And even here, when I'm putting them in, they're doing that strange glitch where they're the wrong colour, and the way you have to fix that is to move the window, then use Alt to move the curtain into the place you want it, and then it works. And here are the screenshots. I'm finally at the end of this build. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a comment down below giving me advice or ideas for another build. And like, if you really liked it, hit the like button, that would be amazing. Or even subscribe if you want to see more or listen to me ramble on again, because this time it was actually a bit of a struggle. If you couldn't tell, I was sort of having issues, but hopefully next time will be better. Anyway, thanks guys, bye.